in a research journal of theology, and the writer was Stanley Cook, who was writing Origins of Religions. He was writing an article in Theology of Religions, and his paper was saying and using the term Islamophobia in 1923. So this is, you see, almost 100 years back we are tracing Islamophobia, the invention, the use of term Islamophobia in 1923. And the most astonishing thing that I have found out was that Islamophobia was also in use in 1910 in French literature. In French literature, this was also in use in 1910 by Alain Quellin. He was a Navy officer doing his PhD and was in fact recalling his experiences when he was dealing with Muslims from the African countries. And he was in fact saying this thing, that Islamophobia, this is a kind of what that is, the French translation of Islamophobia. So he was using this term in his PhD thesis. It stresses that Islamophobia was there. I'm talking about term, I'm not talking about a phenomena. Let me take you back to sometimes in 6th and 7th century when Islamophobia was actually originating as a phenomenon. I'm talking about the term and the term only. And I found traces which are just in the process of getting them rectified from the relevant literature, that Islamophobia term was in use even in Spanish literature sometime in 1880s. You see, 1856 probably, this was the time when the first time the term anti-Semitism was used. I believe that the term Islamophobia was much earlier than it was in use. And inshallah, in next couple of months' time, we should be able to have this kind of thing. Unfortunately, the problem is that of literature in Pakistan universities, that we do not have, in fact, those kind of archaic sources with the help of which we can reach to these kind of things. But this is something about the term, the history of the term that is in use. And you see the term, that the first very phenomenal book or the report that appeared was in 1997, calling it the neology. You know, neology, some new term in the literature. Islamophobia is, for God's sake, not a neology. We can have more than 120 years history in terms of its term only. Taking you back. Islamophobia as a phenomenon is there since Islam took birth. Please remind me of my time if I'm going to see it, please. Islamophobia as a phenomenon was in use when Prophet ﷺ declared that Islam has taken birth. So finalization of Islam was in the process with the emergence of Prophet ﷺ in this world. And when Islam took roots and it started spreading from across the peninsula of Arabia, reaching the other parts of the world, the people from Judaism, Christianity, they started joining Islam, embracing Islam in battalions. The whole tribes and the whole countries were embracing Islam. That was a kind of alarming thing for the Christianity and the elders of Judaism. Oh my God, if Islam doesn't stop spending like that, they will start dying. And they consider Islam as an existential threat to their religious identities. They took Islam as an existential threat to their, in fact, you see, presence in the world. They will vanish if Islam proceeds like this. And that was the time the elder of Christianity of that time, Saint John of Damascus. We are now starting work on that to see more on him. But whatever we have found about him is something extremely disturbing. And you know what did he say at that time? He said, a problem has taken birth. I am using the word problem in the quotes. He used this word for Islam. A problem has taken birth in the world. And he in fact declared that problem as a punishment for the unscrupulous sins of Christians and the Christianity. They were calling it, this is something, na karta gunaho ki saza. Islam and birth of Islam is in fact is punishment for the sins of unscrupulous sins of Christians and Christianity. And there you see that started to see a huge campaign against and a huge campaign of indignation about Islam, about Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all that. And they did not stop, in 9th century, in 10th century, Crusades started. And they found it, Islam is, oh my God, that's in fact reaching everywhere, every nook and corner. If we have to survive, we have to eliminate Islam from the world. And physical elimination, in fact, was the first attempt that they tried to do. This is Islamophobia, fear of Islam. Islamophobia, just in quotes have to say, is fear of Islam. And they have found it out now. We cannot, in fact, allow Muslims and Prophet ﷺ's teachings to reach to every part of the world. We have to eliminate them. And those who are, in fact, spreading this message, they are to be eliminated too. And of course, the first crusade, and the second crusade, and the third crusade. And finally, after the third crusade in the 12th century, they have come to know it. Oh, this is an ideology, and ideology cannot be fought with sword. Islam is what? Islam is an ideology, a peaceful ideology. In fact, an ideology that is spread all across the world. So we cannot fight ideology with sword. This is, in fact, the first thing that they have found it, that we should stop it and we should find a different way of combating Islam and its spread. And that was, in fact, the time, the historic time in the 13th century. They sat together in vain. They invited all the people, those who could matter in Christianity and in good recommendation in terms of good for them, bad for us, that we cannot fight Islam with sword. So we have to have some kind of academic and political onslaught against Islam so that it should not be spread. This was the time that, in fact, ushered a something absolutely new arena. An absolutely new arena ushered against Islam. And that was to write against Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Something to write against Quran. Something to write against Islam. And Islam's, you see, negative. A bundle of heresies. Biddaton ka bundle. A bundle of heresies. And heresies of what? Heresies of Judaism and heresies of Christianity. Islam is nothing but, you see, they concocted the things that are available in the Bible, available in Torah, and they are, in fact, you see, concocted in their own way. And Prophet ﷺ made a Quran, and that Quran has now declared as Islam. So we should not, in fact, go for accepting the heresies. And they call it the heresies of the highest order. And this is, you see, kind of polemical thing that they were, in fact, doing. People are saying that why this kind of thing is all of a sudden coming from France. By taking the Emmanuel Macron recent statement and a couple of years back, Charlie Hebdo, reproduction of Prophet ﷺ's caricatures, unfortunately. I call it no. France is a home of Islamophobia, where Islamophobia actually took birth. And I have historical reason for that. I just quote a few for them because I have short of time. Otherwise, I have a lot of things to discuss. Unfortunately, I have not even gone to the first slide of my presentation. Anyhow, later on sometime. But I just want to give you that. How did it happen? It's not something very capricious, very all of a sudden in France. The first Quranic translation, first translation of Quran in any European language that happened to take place in Cluny, that happened to take place in France. And the one who had been given this responsibility was who? He was Peter of Cluny, which was on the basis of his contribution towards writing Islam. At that time, king given him the title of the Venerable, as we normally give this title to Sir or Alama or something like that. So Peter the Venerable was given this title of being venerable because he has done something for the survival of Christianity and going against Islam. By writing something so polemical, he in fact found the people that who could translate Quran and could translate Quran in a way that he wanted it to. So Ketan was the one who was selected for this. And there was someone with the name of Muhammad. He had been in Saudi Arabia in Arab world for long and he knew Arabic language. So they sat together under the supervision of Peter and they translated Quran into a European language. And this was in fact all negativities that they tried to associate with the Quran by proving that whatever is there in the Quran is all in fact concocted and is a heresy of Judaism and Christianity. And that Quran is, which is considered to be as the Ketan's Quran, that Quran is still available in the Western's library and considered to be the best source of Quran. You see, best translation of Quran and interpretation.
They do not go for tafsir of Maulana Shafi Usmaniya, Thawiya. They do not go for any kind of tafsir like that. They go tafsir that has been written by Kettle, some 13th century. The second thing that he did was what? This is very unfortunate. We all have to, in fact, work on this. I request Dr. Zafar also on this, that we have to have this kind of chair here to have these kind of investigations, research on something like that. He worked, he spent his day and night writing against our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My paper is in process and this is about to come on Peter's Venerable and his contribution. This is all coming from France. And he wrote an extremely polemical piece of literature which is still being used as a prophetic kind of literature for the people working in the Western business. And unfortunately, there has not been a single rebuttal from the Muslim world, the entire Muslim world. His inscriptions have been used by William Muir as well. His inscription has been used by Salman Rushdie. His inscriptions have been used by Patricia Crone in the United States Princeton University, by Michael Cook from the Princeton University. I mean, whatever the polemical thing, you just take it, you will find the kind of, you see, traces you can find in the work by Peter the Venerable that he wrote against Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is a continuity what is happening in France now. It's not coming up today or yesterday. It is not a qissa of aaj ya kal. No. This is not contemporary. This has in fact a history of, you see, centuries. All crusades started from France. All things that has been written against Islam and Prophet ﷺ and Quran, these were initiating France. And that's why you see kind of thing that we are seeing in shape of some kind of culmination of those later over there. So just putting up my, giving a full stop to my discussion over there, that is that the phenomena of Islamophobia, in very short words, phenomena of Islamophobia, in fact, took birth when Islam took birth. And the term Islamophobia is also not new. That has also a history of more than 120 years. Thank you very much, friends, and thank you very much, sir.